The Air Force Chief of Staff General Charles Q. Brown Jr. taking part in a roundtable at the Brookings Institute today about U.S. defense strategy and the biggest challenges facing the Air Force today. That includes staying ahead of where adversaries are, he says, and preparing for a threat by looking at our own capabilities.
And while many were preparing for the Super Bowl gathering yesterday, the U.S. military shooting down a fourth unknown aerial object over Lake Huron in northern Michigan. 3 unidentified flying objects shot in 3 days, and more questions than answers tonight. Let's bring in our Katie Barlow to get a better idea of where things stand now. Hi, Katie.
Hi there. Well, this is apparently the first time that a lot of this has happened. That's according to General Glenn Van Herk, who's the commander of the North American Aerospace Defense Command. He says, to his knowledge, this is the first time that NORAD or Northern Command has shot down airborne objects either within the United States or in U.S. airspace. And now there have been 4 total objects shot down since February 4th, 3 of those in U.S. airspace, 1 in Canadian airspace on Saturday. Now take a look at this map to get a visual of the big picture here. February 4th is when the Chinese spy balloon was shot down, about the size of 3 buses, according to officials. Friday, the military shoots down an object off the coast of northern Alaska. Saturday, another object goes down, that one about 100 miles from the U.S. border in Canada. And yesterday, a third goes down over northern Michigan.
And I think the bigger question here, Katie, is how is this happening so repeatedly in such a small window of time? Is there technology here that's been tweaked?
Yes, you're exactly right, Marina. So according to U.S. officials, they have tweaked their radar monitoring system. Now, according to General Glenn Van Herk, who I just referenced, he's the commander of NORAD, he says that radars filter out information based on speed. So NORAD was tracking objects on the higher end of a speed radar. If we're looking at 0 miles per hour up to 100 miles per hour, for example, they were looking at higher speed objects, filtering out what he called low speed clutter. But after that February 4th shoot down of the Chinese spy balloon, they tweaked the radar and started capturing some of the objects that were on the lower end of the speed spectrum, and maybe more objects in general. And that might be why we're seeing more of these incidents happen lately.
And we got a better sense of that so-called Chinese spy balloon that was shot down off of the coast of South Carolina. It was retrieved in the water. What about these other unidentified objects? Do we know anything about them? Have they been recovered?
Well, there's a lot that we don't know about them. We don't know their purpose. We don't know their surveillance capability. We don't know exactly what they are. And in fact, they still haven't been able to recover the object that was shot down off the northern coast of Alaska on Friday. And General Glenn Van Herk was hesitant to describe what they look like. In part, he says, because some of these objects are moving more slowly, as we talked about, maybe even at the speed of wind. And these fighter pilots are going much more quickly, sometimes 100 miles per hour. And so to be able to accurately identify and visualize the object is a challenge. So he didn't feel comfortable exactly describing what they look like. But he did say that all 3 of the most recent objects were smaller than the size of the Chinese spy balloon that was shot down.
And I think when you give an answer which some would qualify as a non-answer like that opens the door to speculation. It opens the door to what ifs. We've even seen Florida Senator Marco Rubio saying that he's not ruling out potentially there being aliens. What's the Pentagon saying? What's next here?
Well, the Pentagon is not ruling out anything at all at this point, deferring to intelligence officials on questions about aliens. Now, I did see that the White House said there's no indication of extraterrestrial life involved here, so the different parties have a different line at this point. But in terms of what's next, we will hopefully get answers to some of the questions we're still missing. As I said, we don't know what these objects were. We don't know their surveillance capabilities. And so as the military learns from their recovery efforts that are still ongoing with the other objects, then hopefully the public will become more informed. And Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, who is chair of the Intel Committee on the Hill, said that a game plan is important going forward instead of taking an ad hoc approach. We'll have more from him coming up at 6 o'clock.
And that may be the key there, educating the public as to what exactly has likely been happening for many years before this last week. But in any case, Katie Barlow live tonight from the Hill with the latest.